Picture this scenario, because for thousands of Americans, this is not a hypothetical situation, but a terrifying reality that is unfolding right now. It is the first of the month. You wake up, perhaps you make your coffee, and you sit down to check your bank balance on your phone or computer, just like you do every single month. You are expecting to see that familiar deposit from the Social Security Administration or the Veterans Affairs Office. It is the money that pays the mortgage, keeps the lights on, and puts food in the refrigerator. You log in, expecting to see the funds available, but instead, you see nothing. The balance is unchanged. The deposit is missing. Panic sets in. You check the date. Yes, it is the correct day. You call the bank, and after waiting on hold for 45 minutes, a customer service representative tells you something that makes no sense. The deposit was rejected due to a verification mismatch. Your money, your lifeline, has been sent back to the abyss of the federal government, and you are left with $0 and a stack of bills due tomorrow. This nightmare scenario is becoming increasingly common due to a massive, quiet overhaul of the banking rules regarding government benefits. This is a story that isn't getting enough headlines, but here at Senior Security Benefits, we are shining a spotlight on it, because your financial survival depends on understanding this new digital checkpoint. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at the invisible war currently being waged in the financial sector. For decades, the direct deposit system was relatively simple. It was like a handshake between the government and your bank. The government said, "Here is money for John Smith," and the bank said, "Okay, we have an account for a John Smith, come on in." It was a system built on a certain degree of trust and assumed accuracy. However, in recent years, we have seen an explosion in what is known as synthetic identity fraud and sophisticated account takeovers. Criminal syndicates, often operating from overseas, have developed methods to intercept these payments or redirect them to accounts that look like they belong to you, but actually belong to them. The losses have been staggering. Hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars siphoned off by fraudsters. In response, the banking industry, under pressure from federal regulators, has tightened the screws. They have moved from a handshake system to what we might call a biometric security grid. They are no longer just looking at the account number, they are scrutinizing every single character of the data attached to that deposit. This new rule is technically a stricter enforcement of name mismatch protocols within the Automated Clearinghouse, or ACH system. The ACH system is the electronic highway that moves money between banks. Under the new, more aggressive guidelines, the computer algorithms that process these deposits are being told to look for exact matches. This means the name on the official government file, the one at the Social Security Administration or the VA, must match the name on the bank account receiving the funds with 100% precision. If the algorithm detects a discrepancy, it does not have the ability to use common sense. It cannot look at the situation and say, "Oh, this is clearly the same person, they just forgot a middle initial." No, the machine is binary. It is a yes or a no. If it detects a mismatch, the default safety protocol is to freeze the transaction and reject the deposit to prevent potential fraud. This is a classic case of a security measure designed to keep bad guys out, inadvertently locking the good guys out of their own houses. Let's look at a detailed example of how innocent this can be, yet how devastating the result is. Consider a retiree named Margaret Ann Miller. For 40 years, she worked, paid her taxes, and eventually retired. When she signed up for Social Security, she used her full legal name, Margaret Ann Miller. However, 20 years ago, when she walked into her local bank branch to open a checking account, the teller simply typed in Margaret Miller. For 2 decades, this was never a problem. The old system saw Margaret Miller and Margaret Ann Miller and recognized them as the same person. But under the new zero-trust environment, the computer flags this. It sees Ann on the incoming check, but not on the account title. The algorithm asks, "Is this the right person? Or is this a fraudster named Margaret Miller trying to steal Margaret Ann Miller's check?" Because the bank's software is set to maximum security to avoid federal fines, it rejects the payment. Margaret wakes up on the 3rd of the month with no money, all because of a middle name that has been missing from her bank profile for 20 years without issue. This problem is compounded for those who share finances. Joint accounts are a massive trap under these new rules. Let's say you are a veteran receiving disability payments. You have a joint account with your spouse. When you open the account, perhaps your spouse was listed as the primary account holder, and you were listed as the secondary or joint holder. When the Department of Veterans Affairs sends your disability payment, the electronic tag on that money is looking for your name. When it hits the bank's firewall, the bank system might only be broadcasting the name of the primary account holder to the verification system. The computer sees a check for John Doe trying to enter an account labeled Jane Doe. It doesn't dig deeper to see that John is also on the account. It just sees the mismatch at the surface level and slams the door shut. This is one of the most common reasons for these sudden, inexplicable payment holds. The money bounces off the account like a rubber ball hitting a brick wall. So, what happens when the money bounces? This is where the true anxiety begins. It is not as simple as the bank pressing a button and fixing it instantly. When a federal benefit payment is rejected by a receiving bank, it triggers a bureaucratic chain reaction. The funds are returned to the U.S. Treasury. This is not an instantaneous process. It can take several business days just for the rejection to process. Once the funds are back with the Treasury, the Social Security Administration or the VA is notified that the payment failed. Now, their system puts a suspension on your file. They don't know if you have died, if the account was closed, or if it was fraud. So, they stop everything to protect the funds. You, the beneficiary, are now in limbo. You have to contact the agency, explain the situation, update your records, and request a reissue of the payment. The agency generally will not send another electronic transfer immediately. Often, their protocol for a failed payment is to cut a paper check and mail it to the address on file. This entire cycle, from the rejection to the reissue to the mail delivery, can take anywhere from 5 to 21 business days. That is nearly a month. Can you survive for a month if your income suddenly vanishes? For most people on a fixed income, the answer is a resounding no. We also need to discuss the rise of neobanks, or online-only financial institutions. Many seniors are moving to these platforms, apps like Chime, Cash App, or various fintech startups, because they offer early direct deposit or have no monthly fees. While these can be great tools, they often have stricter automated fraud detection systems than traditional brick-and-mortar banks. These apps rely entirely on algorithms. There is no branch manager you can walk in and talk to. If their algorithm decides your deposit looks suspicious because the name format doesn't match their specific criteria, they will return the deposit instantly. We have seen numerous reports in forums and message boards of people using these newer banking apps suddenly finding their accounts locked or deposits returned because of a minor data discrepancy that a human teller at a local credit union would have fixed in 30 seconds. If you are using one of these apps, you need to be doubly vigilant about ensuring your profile matches your government ID exactly. Now that we have established the severity of the threat, we must pivot to the solution. You are not helpless in this situation. In fact, you have the power to audit your own financial life before the government does it for you. This is your Senior Security Benefits Action Plan. The first step is a forensic audit of your own name. It sounds silly, but take out your Social Security card or your latest award letter. Look at exactly how your name is printed. Is there a suffix like Junior or II? Is your middle name spelled out or initialed? Is there a hyphen? Now, log into your bank account or look at your paper statement. Compare them character for character. If your Social Security card says Robert J. Smith and your bank account says Bob Smith, you are in the danger zone. If your card says Mary Ellen with a hyphen and your bank says Mary Ellen with a space, that is a potential trigger. Your second step is to normalize the data. It is generally easier to change your name at the bank than it is to change your name with the Social Security Administration. The SSA requires original documents like marriage licenses or birth certificates, and often an in-person appointment. The bank, however, usually just needs to see your driver's license and your Social Security card. So if there is a mismatch, go to the bank. Sit down with a banker. Tell them specifically, I am concerned about the new federal deposit verification rules. I need to make sure the name on this account matches my Social Security records exactly, so my benefits are not returned. They can update your profile in their system. This simple 10-minute conversation could save you 3 weeks of financial ruin. The third step in your protection plan deals with the joint account issue we mentioned earlier. If you share an account, you need to have a conversation with your bank about how the account is titled. Ask them specifically how the names appear on incoming ACH transfers. If you are the primary breadwinner via Social Security, but you are listed second on the account, ask if it is possible to change the order of the names, or if the bank system checks secondary names for direct deposits. If the bank seems unsure, or if they admit their system is rigid, it might be time to open a separate individual account solely for your government deposits. Having a dedicated account in your name only, where the benefits are deposited, and then transferring money to the joint account for bills, is the safest way to bypass the joint account mismatch filter entirely. We must also touch on a very dark side of this new regulation, the scams. Whenever there is a systemic change in how money is handled, predators emerge from the shadows to exploit the confusion. We are already seeing a spike in verification scams. Here is how the script works. Your phone rings. The caller ID might even say Social Security Administration or the name of your bank, because criminals can easily spoof these numbers. You pick up, and a very professional-sounding person says, "Hello, this is the Deposit Verification Department. We are calling to inform you that your upcoming benefit payment has been flagged due to the new name mismatch protocols. We need to verify your identity right now to release the hold. Otherwise, your check will be returned to the Treasury." Panic hits you. You think about your bills. You want to fix this. They ask for your Social Security number to verify the file. Then they ask for your bank account login and password to sync the system. Let us be crystal clear. This is a lie. This is a trap. The Social Security Administration will never call you out of the blue to threaten you with a suspended payment. They do not have a deposit verification department that calls people at home. Your bank will never ask for your password over the phone. If you receive this call, your heart rate will go up. That is their goal. They want you in a high emotional state so your logical brain shuts down. The moment you hear someone asking for personal details to release a payment, you must hang up. Do not speak. Do not explain. Just disconnect the line. If you are worried there might be a kernel of truth to it, look up the official number for your bank on the back of your debit card and call them yourself. But never, ever give information to an incoming call. This transition period we are living in, where legacy banking meets high-tech security, is bumpy. The goal of these rules is noble. They really are trying to stop the bad guys who steal grandmothers' identities. But in the process, the system has become rigid and unforgiving. The human element of banking is disappearing. The bank manager who knew your face and would approve the check because he knew you were good for it is being replaced by an algorithm in a data center in Virginia that only knows ones and zeros. This means the responsibility has shifted from the bank to you. You cannot rely on "it's always worked before." That is a dangerous mindset in a changing digital landscape. "It's always worked before" is true right up until the second it stops working. Think about the peace of mind you will have if you take action this week. Imagine knowing for a fact that your data is synchronized. While others might be waking up to a rejected payment and a month of stress, you will see your deposit hit your account right on schedule. It is a small investment of time, checking your documents, making a phone call, verifying your account title. But the return on that investment is your security. It is the assurance that the lifeline you worked your whole life for remains unbroken. At Senior Security Benefits, we are constantly monitoring these regulatory changes. We read the fine print of the Federal Register and the banking compliance manuals so that you don't have to. We see these trends moving toward more automation, not less. We see a future where biometric verification might be required, or where digital IDs become standard. But for now, the hurdle is the name match. It is the exact match era. Do not let a missing middle initial be the reason you cannot buy groceries next week. Do not let a nickname on a checking account be the reason your electricity is cut off. Take control of your digital identity. Gather your documents. Sit down at the kitchen table and do the comparison. Be the auditor of your own life. If you find a discrepancy, fix it immediately. Do not wait for the letter in the mail saying your funds have been suspended. By the time you get that letter, the damage is already done, and the clock on the 21-day reissue process has already started ticking. You have the knowledge now. You know how the machine works. You know what it is looking for. And most importantly, you know how to make sure it gives you the green light every single month. As we wrap up this deep dive into the new banking regulations, remember that knowledge is the only defense against bureaucracy. The government and the banks are big, slow-moving ships. They turn slowly, and they often crush things in their path without meaning to. You are the captain of your own little boat. You have to steer clear of their wake. By ensuring your information is perfect, you are putting up a shield around your benefits. You are securing your financial future against the glitch, against the algorithm, and against the error. Stay vigilant, stay skeptical of unsolicited calls, and keep your records spotless. This is how we protect ourselves in the modern age. This is how we ensure that the benefits we earned are the benefits we keep.